Hey, what's up guys, it's Deathstroker Seeker here with another video to Helldivers, and this one will be going to Vehicles DLC pack. But before I get into that, I want to offer my apology to all of you for the immense delay in videos. I'm actually going through quite the struggle right now. I had to send my PS4 in for repairs. It is still there. I haven't had it for like a week and a half maybe, so that's cut down the gameplay as well as the video recording. My laptop, which I got in a bike accident months ago, I had shattered the screen only, or at least that's what I thought it was, and it turns out that now it's been degraded and fallen apart over time. Even recording with it was very difficult because the audio would delay when I'm recording it. The screen and the audio actually input is like there was a gap there, so I couldn't really tell if I'm recording at the same time. It'd be 3 seconds behind, so it was just giving me a lot of hell. My network is also giving me hell at the same time. Lack of PS4 is a problem, so I've had a couple of things like count against actually doing the uploads. But like I just said, as of right now, I still don't have the PS4, and which is why it's been so much work to try to do this. I didn't have enough video input or actual footage for the actual video, so I had to do a lot of digging and pulling clips from this game and that game just to try to get enough together for the video and actually cover the audio for it. So that is for the delay. Like I said, I apologize. I know you guys have been waiting for this, and I really wanted to get this out ahead of time before I had to send the PS4 in, but I needed to send it in. There was a multiple problems with it. It is still in for repairs right now, so I'm still waiting to get that back. But for now, I can at least put this video out. I've got enough clips together. I'm fighting with the computer, but you know, now it's up and running. Now that long boring part is over with, let's actually jump into the video. Now, the Vehicles DLC pack included 3 vehicles, including a new Mech, the Lumberer, the Bastion, which is a tank destroyer, not a tank, cannot specify this enough, and then the Hammer Motorcycle. Now first up is the EXO-SI Lumberer, which is a new mech that's been added to Helldivers via the, of course, Vehicles DLC pack. Where else would it come from? Now the Lumberer is more for that anti-armor approach to fights. It is equipped with a 90mm cannon rather than the anti-armor rockets that the other Exos or the other mech has. This is of course more effective than the anti-armor rocket because it can punch through that armor and do severe damage to these heavily armored targets, as well as it has a nice little splash damage that can wreck little small guys that tend to, you know, cluster around them a bit. I can say this is the most effective EXO for, of course, taking out heavily armored targets, especially since it's geared towards anti-armor. Now, if that wasn't the case, then this would be a very poor situation because of the fact that it is actually geared for that anti-armor. Now, keep in mind, just because it's geared for that heavily armored targets or those big guys, you know, the tanks, the behemoths, the IFVs, just because it's geared for those guys doesn't mean that it only takes out these guys. That 90mm cannon is very effective versus the Bug's Nest, the Cyborg AAA guns, and the Luminous beacons. It will wreck every last one of those things. I mean, it is destroyer of all destroyers. So therefore, don't think that you can only shoot, you know, actual heavily armored enemies with this thing. You can even shoot other Helldivers with it. It will take just about anything out. Do know, of course, there's the shields that were getting away first, but that's with the Luminous, but it will, like I said, wreck just by anything else. Now, when it comes to actual lighted infantry or, you know, just those little trash guys that kind of come around, you know, kind of swarm around the bigger guys, the regular group of, you know, not heavily armored guys, it also comes with a flamethrower to counteract those little guys right there, those lesser, lightly armored kind of guys. But do know, like I said, with a flame weapon, that the time to kill can be a little bit longer than, you know, conventional rounds or explosives, so therefore keep that in mind. I call flamethrowers, and in this case the flamethrower as well for the EXO, are just this Lumberer, that they're support weapons. While it will take down these lighter enemies, I recommend having, you know, a buddy with you to actually put some more rounds to them. Like I said, it's there. It's definitely there for those little guys, but having someone else put a couple of the rounds in is perfect for it as well. Now, when it comes to like the Bug Scouts or the little small ones, you can easily fry them up with the flamethrower, even some other lesser enemies, but like I said, time to kill is something to consider there, so therefore having another guy, this makes the perfect kind of support weapon. Another thing to keep in mind is something that I have not said when it comes to the other mechs, and in which I feel that every one of these mechs, though they perform, you know, very well for their specific demands or in any situation, they perform very well. These are support vehicles, especially with this one right here. Like I said, that flamethrower is more of a support weapon. The real actual purpose for the Lumberer is down on those heavily armored units, so he should be there assisting a squad rather than actually taking on a full solo mission by himself. While possible, and I have, you know, done this, I would say definitely it's a support weapon or a support vehicle, so keep that in mind when using these mechs. Now the upgrades for the Lumberer do include just basically ammunition upgrades, which are very appreciated when it comes to the mechs. If anything, you always want more ammo because it extends the lifetime. Usually you don't lose your mech, except in those very extreme situations in which you lose your mech very fast. But usually, you can actually keep them around the entire round. The only problem is you run out of ammo and thus can't kill anything, so you gotta ditch them. So I greatly recommend doing these upgrades as soon as possible. It's not a really strife. I mean, it's not really severely low on ammunition. There is low, but not severely low. But the upgrades do help. Once I maxed it out, it performs beautifully. That did beautifully. The next one we're going to go over is the MC-109 Hammer Motorcycle, which is a very long name now that I think about it. Anyways, the Hammer is, like I said, a motorcycle. It actually comes with a side passenger cart, similar to like the old Batman, or Bat-cycle, I guess you can call it, or Motocycle, something around that nature. Either way, it comes with a little cab on the side for another passenger or so. Now, one thing I didn't know with this is that it does use a different control scheme than the other vehicles in the game, in which case I had to use the left and right triggers for deceleration and acceleration, which is very similar to how some racing games work. Another thing I did note is that there was a slight problem when it came to the area damage, I guess you could say, with it, where I was roadkilling and running over teammates when I wasn't too close to them actually at all. There was still like another, I guess like if I had to use a distance method, it would be, there were at least 2 Helldivers in distance, I guess. So you can fit a whole other Helldiver between me, the motorcycle, and the other Helldiver standing next to me. And I can still damage him by driving past him. I don't know if this is a bug or maybe some sort of a weird connection thing with the networking or whatever, but it only happened with this vehicle, and I did note that happened a couple of times. So I was very cautious about driving around people. Though other than that, the Hammer is and will occupy that slot as a fast, light armored transport for 2 people. Like I said, it does have that sidecar, and the later on upgrade actually does equip the sidecar with the LMG, which is very effective versus low and medium enemies. Now, while the LMG is very effective versus those enemies, and it is the primary version of, I guess, offensive capabilities of this vehicle, which is not really an offensive vehicle, like I said, it's a light transport, do know that it is capable of trampling enemies very easily, so in which case I was running over lots of bugs and lots of cyborgs with this because it doesn't have wheels. It has a tread system, similar to how some tanks work, and it just runs over things so beautifully. I mean, once you get a control for this vehicle, or you actually get comfortable driving it, I can say that running over things with this thing is a pure joy. It's like rediscovering Roadkill and Halo. It's just I just had too much fun running over things. Let's just say that. But like I said, the LMG is the primary, offense or defensive part of this vehicle. I don't know exactly how that works because it's kind of wonky because it's on the sidecar, so therefore it's only one side you can fight him from. But at the same time, it's like I said, a fast transport. So for the most part, you'll be using this just to get from point A to point B, rather than actually, in a fight. So the LMG, while I do appreciate it, I'm not gonna lie about that, its function is not too offensive. It's more, like I said, defensive. So therefore, you park the bike, and say the guy in the passenger seat is still sitting in the passenger seat, he can defend you for a slight bit. So it is vector for that. But like I said, you gotta know that this is a defensive weapon. It's not gonna for prolonged fights or for drive-bys. I mean, it's actually pretty good for drive-bys. But like I said, just remember this is a transport vehicle. Just keep that in mind. Now, next up is the TD-100 Bastion, which is a tank destroyer, not a tank, a tank destroyer. The reason for that is because it is absolutely the biggest beast that you can actually put in this game. When it comes to the heavier vehicles, this one is top-notch, both in offensive and defensive. Now, when it comes to the offensive, it is armed with a main cannon which fires explosive shells, which I am very happy and I do appreciate a lot. So I do like that for taking out, a nice little group or squadron of any type of enemy in Helldivers. So explosive shells, I like that. I'm so for that right now. It is also armed with a secondary LMG, which most people do not realize, and they tend to just use the main cannon for everything. And when it runs out of ammo, they ditch the vehicle. Like I said, the LMG is a secondary and it's there from the start. Do use this, really, especially between those shots with the main cannon, because the main cannon does have a bit of a slow rate of fire in the beginning. It is upgradable with upgrades as well as the ammunition supply. But just remember that that gun is always there. Another thing to note is that the guns, both the main cannon and the LMG, is front facing only, so therefore you will only be able to fire from the front of the tank destroyer or the Bastion. So the driver, the driver in this situation really needs to be paying attention to actually angle and aim for the gunner. So it requires a lot of cooperation between the two. Even though they're the only two in this vehicle, just keep that in mind. Speaking of things to keep in mind, do take note that this does use a different control scheme than any other vehicle in the game. It is also unique to the Hammer motorcycle as well. This one, you have to use the analogs to actually pivot and turn and accelerate and decelerate with the Bastion. So the driver's position or the driver's job is a little more crucial in this situation, whereas the gunner just has to fire the cannon, because the driver has to actually drive this thing with a different control scheme as well as aim for the gunner. So it's a bit more difficult to pick up on this. There is a little bit of a learning curve to it, I will admit that, and I know a lot of people don't like that because of it. But once you do get it down, like I said, this is one of the best anti-tank or anti-armor vehicles in the game. So you want to nail this down. It's a really good vehicle. Now let's put aside the offensive capabilities of it and focus on the defensive. This is the heaviest armored vehicle in the game, in which case smaller enemies, meaning they're light infantry or those lower massive group of guys, and even fire cannot even harm this thing. It is that heavily plated. I've rode through lava or fire or magma, whatever you want to call it, drove straight through it, no problem at all. I've rode through the barbed wire fence or the anti-personnel barrier from the other DLC pack. I've even run over other units in the game, including Helldivers. But like I'm saying, it is just that heavily armored. In fact, like I said, those lighter enemies, those light melee enemies, cannot even damage it. They watch them swat away at other people's bastions, and the guy will just literally go, "Okay, guys, step aside. I've got this," and he'll just turn it on over, hit the accelerator, or push the analogs forward, and just squish every last one of them. It's so damn good for this. I'm not gonna lie. I just love it for the fact that it can just turn anything into a squishy mess. Which brings me to its capabilities versus the other enemies. Versus the bugs, performs admirably as I would expect. Beautifully, downs the behemoth, downs the tanks, squishes everybody else, lights them up with the machine gun. Versus the cyborg is where I find my most fun, because those little husk, grotesque guys kind of maul you. You can sit there and just park and just sit inside the Bastion with no problem at all. They'll literally beat the hell out of it and do no damage at all. They'll just swat away, just swinging and swinging and swinging, nothing at all. And then you'll go, okay, time to go. Start pushing the analog sticks and squish them. No problem at all. It just runs them right over. You take no damage whatsoever. In which case, I find it's greatest effective versus the cyborgs. Even the IFVs, you can just shoot them with the cannon and blow them to hell. Which I'm so happy for, to see an actual vehicle that's actually the counter to the cyborg IFV, who I've had multiple encounters and multiple problems with. To see a vehicle that we can now have, a tank that says, "Hey, fuck your tank," and blows it up. That's my kind of vehicle right there. So therefore, I highly recommend this right here. Versus the Illuminus, you will of course see the usual kind of problems, which in the case are the shields. It will of course kill any Illuminate, but you have to get through the shields first, so it will cost you some more ammunition. But I mean, that's things you expect from the Illuminates in general. But like I said, this thing, tank destroyer all the way. Bastion, one of my favorite vehicles. Now for the moment of truth, whether or not you should actually buy this, in which case I say go ahead and go for it. Just know it's a little bit more pricey than the other DLCs. I think it's like $1 more here in the US. I don't know about it, internationally or anything of that nature at all. So I will say that, you will have to pay like $1 more or maybe $2, wherever you're at, because it is sold separately. There's no Reinforcement Pack 3, there is no pack to combine the Vehicles DLC pack, the Pistols DLC pack, and the Entrenched DLC pack. They're not packaged together, so you have to buy them each singly. This one I do recommend because the Bastion, like I said, is a great tank destroyer. It is a very great anti-armored vehicle, and it takes out those cyborgs so damn well. The Lumber is another one with that 90mm cannon. It is a very great mech for that, that supportive anti-armor kind of support. So I will say that is also great. The Hammer motorcycle, which I did want, I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those guys that was like hoping for a motorcycle that we can get in the game for our 2 people, but it doesn't fit a strong purpose. I mean, on the lower difficulties, yeah, it's good for getting around the map and stuff like that. On the higher difficulties, not so much. Like I said, it's fast transport, but at the cost of a stratagem slot, so I don't use it too much except to play around and mess around with people. But it's still pretty fun, like I said, to run over things. You cannot fit the briefcase in the side cart, sadly enough. That's just not something Helldivers can think of. I guess their brains just can't comprehend that, you know, this empty seat can also hold that big old briefcase. But that's not happening, so we'll say that it's make me a little more lenient, but it's still a great motorcycle. It's pretty fun to play with and drive around, run things over. So nothing in here is really that bad. In fact, some of the vehicles, the Lumber and the Bastion, are just so damn good, I can't pass on not buying this pack. In which case, I say that you should buy it as well. But this is of course your opinion, don't just buy it because I said so. Buy it because of everything you've heard in this video, and gameplay, and things you've seen with the vehicle itself. In which case, then you buy it. Now, this is the end of the video, of course, in which case you can like it, you can dislike it, I don't mind that at all. Drop comments, questions down in the comment section. You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and I think I covered them all. And once again, I want to apologize for the massive delay in the videos. I will get up and pumping as soon as I can. I'm in the process of trying to figure out this thing with the laptop, and maybe another solution is going to form up somewhere. I'm waiting to get my PS4 back, so I am still waiting for that. So I don't know when I'll be able to record again, or you know, when I'll be able to play another video game ever in existence. Like I said, that is my PS4, so I am kind of like gameless right now. In which case, like I said, when I get the chance, I will start uploading videos again. I want to thank you guys for being so patient. Sorry for the delay. I will get up and ready as soon as possible, and I'll let you guys know.